Good morning, family. Got a word for you guys this morning. Some revelations were made during and after Bible study last night. So today's verse is 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7 through 9. So to keep me from being conceited because of the surpassing greatness of the revelations, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to harass me, to keep me from becoming conceited. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. And we're really just discussing this, and I'm sitting here complaining about the things I'm struggling with, and I've asked the Lord to take them. And the reality is sometimes he won't. Sometimes I can ask him, and I can plead with him, and I can beg him, and he won't. And it was revealed to me this morning by the Lord that sometimes he won't, to keep me from becoming conceited and thinking that I did it on my own, to test my faith. And when it gets tough, do you still have faith in me? Do you still trust in me? Do you still think my grace is sufficient? Or do you doubt that my grace is sufficient? And do you run to your vices? This is the one, folks. Do you run to the bottle because you feel like you've been sitting in it too long and the grace wasn't sufficient enough? Do you run to the weed because you feel like you've been sitting in it too long and the grace wasn't sufficient enough? Do you run to the cigarettes because, I'm stressed out, I need to have a smoke? Or is his grace sufficient enough? Do you run to the pornography to release stress, to release some endorphins? Or do you believe that his grace is sufficient enough? Do you fornicate with random strangers because you want to release, because you feel like his grace isn't sufficient enough? Do you get what I'm getting at here? Do I believe that his grace is sufficient during the trials? Or do I have to run to my own vices and take back control? Because if we're honest here, think about the times that I don't get in my own way during a struggle and how God has brought me from that. That tells me alone through my own experience, his grace was already sufficient. But think of all the times that I was struggling and I got my own way. Started projecting onto others, cursing people out, or yelling at people, or treating people poorly, or, back in another time drinking and smoking and doing drugs and the things that God already brought me from, right? But think of those times. His grace would have been sufficient and was sufficient enough, but I didn't utilize his grace. I didn't really recognize his grace and show gratitude for his grace and just sit in that faithfulness. So I would pray that if I asked God to remove it from us today, that we wouldn't be a people that would ask and just go about it our own way. I pray that we would ask and wait. Ask and be patient. Faith is believing in things unseen. To me, that don't just mean God. That means the victory over this struggle. I ain't seen it yet, but I got faith I'll see it today. That means that addiction that I just can't get off my back. I can't see it going away, but I got faith I will. I got faith that it's coming because your grace is sufficient for me. I got faith that through this struggle you will guide me because you always have and you always will, because your grace is sufficient enough. I pray today we would be a people that would just love hard and love earnestly and find joy in the trials and find joy in the sufferings, because we're guided and our hands are held by the Most High, Jesus Christ, and his grace is sufficient. God bless and I love you.